9.2 Heart. Objectives are very important. Make sure that you go back to the objectives and revise your understanding and your studying according to them. So, the heart. What's the function of the heart? It pumps blood all around your body. As you can see, the heart is divided into 4 main rooms or 4 main chambers. Okay, you have the left side of the heart, the one containing oxygenated blood, and the right side of the heart, the one containing deoxygenated blood. So, the upper chambers are called the atria, while the lower chambers are called the ventricles. In between the upper and the lower chambers, we have valves. So the valves, they separate the upper chambers of the heart from the lower chambers of the heart. And like any valves, they ensure the passage of blood in one direction only. As we agreed before, the blood enters the heart coming from the lungs into the left side. But now, as we know that the upper chamber is called the atrium, so now we know that this is called the left atrium. What about this vessel? What do we call it? We call it the pulmonary vein. Anything related to the lungs is called pulmonary. So those veins bring blood from the lungs. So now we have the pulmonary veins that will bring blood from the lungs. Again, it is oxygenated blood. Then the blood will enter the atrium, which is the left atrium. Then the blood will get pumped into the left ventricle, passing through the valve in between them. Afterwards, the blood will be pumped again into this very big artery. What do we call it? We call it the aorta. So let's revise again what we said. We have the pulmonary veins that will bring blood into the left atrium, and then the blood will flow into the left ventricle and will flow into the aorta. Any blood enters the heart must enter through veins. Any blood leaving the heart must leave through arteries. Now the blood will go through the aorta that will branch into all of the arteries of the body, and the blood will be distributed to the whole body and take the whole circulation and return back to the heart, but in the right side of the heart. Now the blood will enter the heart again. So we said that blood enters the blood only through veins. So we will call those 2 veins superior and inferior vena cava. The blood now is deoxygenated because it already distributed the oxygen to every single cell of the body, and now it returned to the heart without the oxygen or with very little oxygen. It will be poured from the vena cava into the, since it's entering the first part of the heart, so it will enter through an atrium. And then this is the right atrium here. And then it will flow into the right ventricle. The blood will leave, and since it's gonna leave, it will leave through an artery. And this artery is going to the lungs, so we call it the pulmonary artery. So this is the circulation of the heart. These are 2 circulations: the pulmonary circulation, the one related to the lungs, and the systemic circulation, the one related to the whole body. Let's revise this bit by bit. So again, the heart is divided into 4 chambers, as you can see here: right atrium, left atrium, right ventricle, left ventricle. When you are looking at any biological diagram, imagine that you're looking at a patient. So when you're looking at a person that's in front of you, your right will be their left, and vice versa. So the left atrium and left ventricle, these are on the left side of the patient in front of you, which is on your right hand, and vice versa with the right atrium and right ventricle. So the two upper chambers are called atria, the lower chambers are called ventricles. They are separated by this wall in the middle called the septum. Okay, so the heart is made of a very special type of muscle that contracts and relaxes regularly without any control from your side. Also, there are valves separating the atria from the ventricles, as we agreed before, in order to prevent the blood to flow in the opposite direction. The walls of the left side of the heart are thicker than the right side of the heart. And this is explainable because the left side of the heart will pump the blood to every part of the body, which needs much more force than just pumping the blood to the pulmonary artery to the lungs that are just nearby and very close to the heart. This side needs to put more effort in order to be able to push blood everywhere in the body that are quite far away from the heart. Now, so the left side contains the left atrium that receives blood from the lungs through the pulmonary veins, as we agreed before. Here we go. This is another way to draw this diagram. You have both lungs here. So the both lungs here bring the blood in here through the pulmonary veins, and then the blood moves from the left atrium to the left ventricle and then gets pumped into the largest artery of the body, which is the aorta. Okay, and it's gonna be pumped to every part of the body, including the upper body and the lower body. Then the blood will return back to the right atrium or the right side of the heart, and then it will flow into the right ventricle and will flow to the pulmonary artery to go back to the lungs and pick up oxygen. So this is the whole circulation again. Now we have a branch of the aorta going back to the heart itself as an organ to provide the heart with nutrients and with the oxygen it needs. Since the heart is doing a lot of work non-stop, so this means that it needs a constant supply of oxygen and nutrients for its own aerobic respiration. So those vessels that deliver the heart needs of oxygen and nutrients are called the coronary arteries. So the coronary arteries again are the vessels that deliver oxygen and nutrients to the heart itself. So any blockage, anything that stops the enough blood supply into the coronary arteries is called the coronary heart disease. So since the heart muscle needs constant supply of nutrients and oxygen, if a coronary heart disease occurs, it will cause a huge problem because we cannot live without our heart beating and doing its own job. So what might happen in order for this blockage to happen? There might be a deposit of cholesterol at the walls of the coronary arteries, blocking its lumen, which makes it get narrower and making the walls of the coronary arteries stiffer. So this will not allow blood to flow easily. Once they are blocked, the heart will not get the enough oxygen or nutrients for its work to be done, for the aerobic respiration that provides it with energy for beating. So the beating might stop, and this is what we can call the heart attack. So what are the reasons or causes and ways of prevention of CHD or coronary heart disease? First, poor diet that contains a lot of cholesterol and saturated fatty acids that can deposit on the walls of the coronary arteries, or eating too much salt, which will increase the blood pressure and cause stress on the heart. Also, how to prevent this? We can prevent it by substituting the animal fats that can deposit on the walls by plant oils that will reduce the fatty acids and cholesterol. So now we don't have enough saturated fatty acids to deposit. So this will help our heart. Also, what can cause CHD is the poor lifestyle like smoking, lack of exercise, stress that will also increase the blood pressure. What can prevent CHD is the regular exercise, keeping ourselves fit without gaining excess weight, and also releasing the stress or decreasing the stress. And if someone is smoking, they should stop smoking. Also, there is a factor that can cause CHD or coronary heart disease, which is the genetic factor. Some people just inherit the ability to get a coronary heart disease. A heartbeat, it is the lub-dub that you can hear using the stethoscope of a doctor. What is the source of this sound? It is the sound of the valves closing. So we have in the first time the closing of the valves between the atria and the ventricles, while in the second time we have the closing of the valves that close the arteries that take blood out of the heart, which are the pulmonary artery and the aorta. Also, what is the normal heart rate? Again, what's a rate? When we say the transpiration rate, the heart rate, this means that the number of something in a unit time. So here we have the number of beats in 1 minute, 60 to 75 beats per minute while resting. Heart increases its rate when we need a lot of oxygen and nutrients, like when you are doing exercise or when you're in a flight or fight mode, when you're stressed. All of these are factors that will increase your heart rate. So, how to measure heartbeats or the heart rate? You can measure the pulse from the wrist, as you can see here, or from the neck, as you can see. And also we can measure the heart rate by an ECG in the hospital, which is electrocardiograph. It measures the electrical activity of the heart plotted against time, which is the rate O. Also, when you put your head or ears against a person's chest, you can easily count the number of heartbeats compared to a minute or per minute. Okay, let's answer some questions. The diagram shows a section through the heart. Which part pumps the blood to the aorta? Okay, so pumping the blood to the aorta, this means that this is oxygenated blood. And where can I find oxygenated blood? On the left side of the heart. And again, the left side of the diagram is opposite to my right side or in front of my right side. So here it is. From where does the blood leave to the aorta? From here, from the left ventricle. It's going to leave from here. So the correct answer is C. Next question. The graph shows the effect of several minutes of vigorous exercise on the heart rate. Which letter on the diagram is at the time when the person is still doing the exercise? It is here. He is increasing the heart rate, right? So why didn't I choose C, though it is in the high curve also? Because here the curve is decreasing, which means that the person started to rest, while here it's still increasing, which means that the person is still doing the exercise. Figure 8.2 shows the route taken by blood around the body. Here you see heart chamber A, heart chamber B, and then the vessels. Now, name the heart chambers A and B. Again, this is the left side of the heart, so the upper chamber will be called the left atrium, while the lower chamber will be called the left ventricle. Here you go, and this is how the mark scheme looks like. Using the information in figure 8.1, identify the type of blood vessel C as either an artery or vein. So here is the blood vessel C. How will I know? We agreed that blood enters the heart only in veins, and here is the arrow showing that the blood is entering the heart. So what is the type of the vessel here? It is a vein. Why? Because it's carrying blood to the heart. And again, this is the mark scheme. Finally, state and explain two differences between the contents of the blood flowing in vessels C and E. Let's go back. Where is C? Here we go. And where is E? So now E, this is blood coming from the lungs. What do you think the type of blood here is? Of course, it's oxygenated blood because it's bringing blood from the lungs, while here it's bringing blood from everywhere in the body. So it is deoxygenated blood, right? So let's go take a look. He wants two differences. What else can be a difference here? So we said that this one contains oxygen, a lot of oxygen. Can we say that this one has low carbon dioxide contents, while here it has high carbon dioxide contents? Which one has more nutrients? C will have more nutrients than E, because here C is coming from the organs of the body, including the small intestine, which means that it's going to be carrying nutrients, while here it's carrying mostly oxygen. So let's take a look. Blood in C has less oxygen than E, as E is added at the lungs. Blood in C has more carbon dioxide than E because it lost this gas, which is carbon dioxide, is lost at the lungs. But C has more glucose than E because some of the glucose were used by the lung cells and the heart cells. So what does OR mean here in the mark scheme? It means OR reversed argument. If you do the comparison the other way around, you mention E first and then C, that's okay. I want to remind you something, that when you see differences or compare, you have to mention both sides of the comparison for each point to get the point. Thank you, and I hope this video helps you study.